This thing I don't think has ever been cleaned. Bird feathers, some dog hair, some cat hair. So that's all gonna have to be replaced. That's a nice bird's nest in it. Doors rotted out, drywall seam is cracking. Holes in the tub. This bathroom's getting completely gutted as well because there's water damage. All right guys, welcome back to Mr. Post Frame. My name is Paul. Today we're gonna be installing interior doors on this whole house remodel. But before we get started, if you guys are new to the channel, my channel got its start when I self-built 95+% of my own Barndominium. And then I went on to custom build a whole bunch of homes. And if you guys are wanting information on how to get it done, building your own house, this is the channel for you. We have a DIY group. Make sure you check that out. It's an awesome community of other self-builders, other self-GCers. But today we are going to be installing interior doors. I'm going to show you 3 different ways that I have done it. And at the end of the day, installing a door comes down to some real basics. And I have a real sure way that you guys can get doors installed. So make sure you stay around. Let's go ahead and get started. All right guys, the first step that I like to do when installing an interior door, and if it's new construction, typically the threshold is gonna be fairly level, the jambs are gonna be level, but in an older house, and even in some production homes, that's just not the case. And also over time, these jack studs can twist, walls can move. So this is an extremely, extremely important task. So there's 3 ways that you can see if this jamb is, or this threshold is level or not. The first is getting a level that fits the opening, so you make sure you have the level sitting where the jambs of the door will be sitting. And then you can check your level. And I can see that this side is low. So what I can do is I can lift this up till the bubble is level, and then I can measure and I can get my difference. This side is the high side. So I'm gonna lift this up, I'm gonna get a measurement, and then that measurement is what I take off of this jamb. So I'm essentially lowering this side so the door will stay square. This method can be sometimes difficult if it's a small amount, which it should be a small amount. The next method is just take a level and get it level across here. So I like that. I'm gonna make a mark here, and I'm gonna make a mark here. So now I have my marks. I feel like this way is more accurate than the other way. It's just hard to get a measurement sometimes on that. And then I like to kind of wrap that around the side, like so. And then I can measure down to the floor 16 and 15/16, and I am 17. So I'm a 16th off, which is not much. And that's pretty close to what this level was. I barely had to pick it up. The third way that you can find whether this threshold is level or not is with a 360 green line laser, if you have one. This is the DeWalt version, and I think it was around $500, and it is worth every penny. I use this thing constantly, and it's probably, in my opinion, going to be the most accurate. So I'm gonna turn that green line laser on, and you can see I'm gonna have a line on both sides. Now I can just measure down. I am at the top of the green line. I am 5 and 15/16, or 4 and 15/16, sorry. And at the top of the green line on this side, I am 5. So that's consistent. I'm a 16th inch lower on this side. So you can see that the level method does work if you have a higher quality level that is actually level. There is that issue. If you don't have that bubble perfectly centered, you could be off. That's why I like the green line laser. But either way, I got the same, so a 1/16. So I was a 1/16 lower on this side, so I would want to take a 1/16 inch off of this side because this is higher, so I have to essentially lower this side of the door to keep it square. So I'll go ahead and mark a 1/16. I'll take a 1/16 off, and then we will get to the next step. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and take a 1/16 off, even though that's basically nothing. Perfect. So now that both sides can sit on the floor and I know that the door is going to be level jamb to jamb. All right, now the next thing, and this is especially on an older house, a remodel, where the house has been there for a while, this is where I would get myself into trouble. The first thing you need to realize, if you think you're gonna walk into an old house and every door is just gonna go right in and you're not gonna have to do any work, you're gonna be really frustrated and you're probably not gonna do a great job. If it's new construction, the doorways should be square, they should be plumb and level, and this should be a fairly easy process just using shims. On remodels, I do not like to use shims unless the opening is fairly square. I like to use an easy install kit. I'll bring you up here close, but what happens over time is this wood shrinks, it expands, and these jambs can get offset from each other, which I can see that this is the case. This 2x4 is turned. If I take my square, and I got my level across here, and there's a way bigger gap here than there is over there, probably a 1/4 inch. But if I take my square and put it up here, and I put it up against this jack stud, there's 3/8 of an inch gap on the back side of this jack stud. So whether I use tapered shims, build my own shims, it's gonna be a pain. And the same thing on this side. This is not perfectly square. This one's a lot better. It's pretty close. So you look at this, if I put a level across here, see that's pretty tight there. Then you come over here and it's off. Now, even if I slide it off of that corner, there's still a much bigger gap than right there. So if I take my laser and I line it up with the bottom stud, the bottom plate on each side, because you can see this 2x4 is over just a little bit, probably an 1/8 inch. So I'm gonna use the bottom plate on both sides. And if you go up, you can see the wall isn't perfectly straight. The laser's over on the drywall, and then it's back on the wood, and then it's over about an 1/8 inch. This side, it's over about an 1/8 inch. Kind of almost all the way down, and then it kind of comes back and corrects itself. All right, so these are the easy install brackets that I like to use. And I love using these on remodels because it eliminates you from having to shim out a door jamb that is nowhere close to straight, plumb, anything. And these will really help you get a really good door install. So basically how these work is you install one by each hinge, and then you install one on the opposite side of the hinges. All right, so the next thing we are going to do is on the hinge side, draw a plumb line. So about a 1/2 inch is about where you want it. So I'm gonna make a 1/2 inch mark. I'm gonna take a long level, make sure I'm good and straight, and then I'm gonna draw a plumb line. And this line is what you're gonna line your brackets up with. And then you know the hinge side jamb is perfectly plumb. All right, so we have our plumb line on the hinge side. With these being hollow core doors, these are not heavy, but if I had solid core doors, which I do on new construction, at least in my personal homes, I use the door studs because they are so heavy, it is really, really difficult to move them. But these are super light, so I'm not putting the door studs on. All right, so the door is in there. I'll bring you over here so you can see this plumb line. So the nice thing about these brackets is you push the door up against the wall and it holds it there. It doesn't let it go too far through. Here is the plumb line that I did. So I'm gonna start at the top and I'm gonna line one of those notches up with my line and screw that in. And then as I go down, I'm gonna do the same thing, lining the same notch up with that line. And then once I get that done, then we can go over and do our reveal. So I'm gonna start at the top and I'm gonna start my screw. Now I'm gonna push that over. All right, so I am base in that first notch. So now I'm gonna go down to the next one. You can see that draws that down into that drywall. This one I needed to move away. I could just pull it, but it's easier if I just slide this in there and that kind of holds it where I want it while I tighten it. All right, so there's that side. It's nice and plumb. All right, so now I'm gonna come over to this side and I'm literally going to attach this based on the reveal. I want the reveal to be consistent all the way down. Pull that out. Pull that out. There we go. And I can pull this out. And my door reveal is even all the way up and down. We're good on that side. The only thing I need to do is I need to build a shim, which I'll build a shim up here and then nail this up because I could see that this door head jamb sags. Stick a shim in there. That looks fairly even. And then I'll get a measurement. 3/4 inches. I'll build a shim, nail it in, and then we can go on the inside and bend those tabs over and screw that off. But you can see, guys, this door opening wasn't perfect and I'm getting a really good result. So as far as a DIY option, I feel like these shimless brackets are amazing. And I've done a lot of doors and remodels over the years. This house is probably the worst upstairs. Like those openings were really bad. But this I have found is the easiest way for me personally to install a door. Or this shim right here. All right, guys, that is awesome, if I don't say so. So I'm gonna go on the other side. I'll bend the tabs over. I also like to run longer screws through the middle of my hinges, so I'm gonna do that as well. So I always take the middle screw out, and I always buy some matching screws. And put them in the middle of each hinge, and that just really, really locks that door in. You gotta be careful when you're putting those in that you don't over tighten or you'll mess the door up. All right, you can see the tab on this side. You're gonna wanna bend it over. All right guys, so that wraps up the installation of this door. And as you can see, it was a pretty easy way to install a door. Personally, this is my favorite way to install interior doors because I don't have all of the shims, all that kind of stuff. If you are a guy that likes to nail off your jambs, you could even go back, add additional shims and nail it. The trim will go over these and cover this. So that's an easy solution, and it is rock solid. Like, this thing is not going anywhere. So if you're concerned about that, and by the time you add your trim and nail it into the jamb and then into the wall, you're gonna have a really good door installation. I like to use this plastic wood filler, and I just use a shim to put it in there. It dries really quick and it seems to hold up really well. That'll dry pretty quick, and then you can just hit it lightly with a piece of hand sandpaper and be good to go. All right, I'm gonna video this installation and see how long it takes me. I'm gonna use just the brackets. So 12.5 minutes with the easy no shim system. This is a 36-inch door. So if we measure across, it is 37.25 inches. So I have 37.25. And if I come over here, let's see what their rough opening is. It is roughly 38. So I have about 3/4 of an inch to deal with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an 8-foot level, and I'm going to set my shims on the hinge side plumb. That way when I put this door in it, I know it's got to go all the way to that side. Then I will make sure I square up the door and shim and fasten the other side. To put my shims in, I'm going to use an 18 gauge brad nailer. To fasten the door in, 16 gauge trim nailer. Those nails are a little bit bigger, they have a little bit more holding power, and I like to use those on doors. Got this light from Olight that has a 1/4 screw, and it fits on my stand nice. Oh, this looks like I have some new old nails and shims to deal with here. All right, so one thing I want to make sure of is that I have shims right where my hinges are. So we are at 1443.72. 1443.72. 1443.72. So I need to make up, I have 3/4 inch extra in this, so I need to make up 3/8. So that'll center the door. So I got 3/8 right there. Now, most likely this door opening is not perfectly plumb because nothing was plumb in this house. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set my level against this. I'm gonna go down to the bottom, my mark, make sure I'm straight up and down. That looks pretty darn good right there. Let's see what this one up here says. I like it. Now I'm going to do a set here in the middle. Literally, I just have to push that up against my shims now because I know that those are plumb, and slide this in here where it touches. So right there, I touch. stay in there on its own. Now I have something that I can push my door up against, and I don't have to worry about plumbing it once I get up there. I'll double check it, but this side is ready to go. So I can slide this door in here, push it over, make sure it's level and plumb this way, and then we can go ahead and nail this side in, then we can deal with that side. The most important thing initially is the levelness of your floor. I suppose I should have got my other nailer ready. The most important thing is that I'm flush on the inside and outside so that when I put my trim on, it contacts the jamb and then goes right along flush with the wall. 16 gauge nailer. I'm gonna line this up and I'm gonna shoot through my shim. So my shim is like right about right there. Okay, so that shouldn't go anywhere. Now I'm gonna check this again. Which this says we are perfect. So I'm gonna work my way down here. Bring this in. And my nails are setting in far enough, so I like that. Probably keep a couple in each spot. Shut the door. My reveal looks amazing up top. So then what I'll do is I'll shim right here, fasten it, shim by the door handle, fasten it, shim at the bottom, fasten it. Perfect. Go ahead, fasten it through here. Do it. And I will say this, if for some reason your wall, like the drywall, you know, sometimes studs won't be perfect and this jamb won't be flush with both sides. I would rather make this front side flush and deal with the trim on the back side where literally nobody's ever gonna see it. This actually looks like it's almost perfect everywhere. So, but just a consideration, if your drywall isn't perfect and it bulges on one side, I would make the front flush, not the back. And there we have it. It doesn't hurt to go back and add like some shims halfway in between each of these just to really sturdy this up. But for most cases, by the time you attach your casing here and attach to the wall, the door's pretty darn good and solid. All right, guys, this door opening is awful, okay? If I put my level up against here, it's off from plumb at least a 1/2 inch on the side. On top of that, this jack stud here is twisted and the threshold is not level by probably 3/8 of an inch, okay? I can't change any of that because this is an existing house. And so I'm gonna show you on this one, I have these things, they're called door stud. I know a lot of people, door installers, like, oh, that's stupid. These things, for one, come in super, super handy. You're doing this by yourself. They're also great for solid core doors that are super heavy. So I'm gonna set this door in these door studs. I'm gonna get them up on the rollers. Then I'm going to attach the Easy Shimless install kit, and we are going to install this door in this opening. So this just slides on there. It's got a shim for if you have a thicker door, so you can take it out. So this will work for pretty much any door thickness. And then there's this little, you can lock this in place here to lock the door. All right, now I'm gonna stand the door back up. This door is sitting on these door studs, so I can move it around real easy. This is one reason this comes in really, really handy on heavy doors, because you're not trying to hold them. I'm gonna get this positioned, I'll lock the wheel so it doesn't move, and then I'm gonna install this kit here. All right, so I have these brackets on the door. And so I should have had the door over there because that's the way it's going in. So these will get butted up against the drywall, and then these tabs will get bent over once you're ready to secure this side. It's all right there. And then I'm gonna take a level. This might dictate. Put that up against there. And you are going to make a plumb line. You could do this with a laser too, which I do have a laser. Okay, so now I have a plumb line to line my brackets up with. So I'm gonna get the door over here where it should have been in the first place. Just gonna wheel it through. And then we're gonna roll it into place. And here is what is super awesome about this is these tabs stop the door where it needs to be, which is amazing. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna line the marks up with my mark on the wall, screw this in, and then this side will be plumb. All right, I'll show you up close. So you can see I had to line it up on the outside edge of that notch just because this opening, you can see the gap up there, and there's hardly any gap down there. And then that one's there, and then that one is there. And now we just have to get this all fastened and adjusted properly. All right, so now we're gonna screw these brackets in, and we're just gonna make the reveal look good. Take our door studs off. Slide out. And so when you get to the other side, you just bend these over. And then you run a screw in them. And then what you can do, like this kind of sags in, I'll shim this and nail it just so it stays straight. But the hard part is done, which is amazing. So I get done installing this door and I look at this. These hinges are recessed. Look at this one. This one never got recessed. So I'm gonna have to take the time to mark that and cut that out. All right, guys, this is my next opening. And gosh, are these openings so out of plumb. If you look at this, about 3/4 of an inch there. Down at the bottom, we're just over 1/4. It's the same thing on this side. You can see my plumb line. And you come up here, and it gets a lot smaller, so. Another problem I have is these jack studs are twisted. I don't know if you can see, you can like physically see that that's twisted. I mean, if I put this square up here, that makes it really difficult to shim, either with solid shims or tapered shims. So I think on this opening, I'm gonna use another one of these easy install kits in the door stud. So up this corner, it's a little proud, about, I don't know, 1/8 inch or so. Which that's not too bad considering how bad this was. All right, I'm gonna put a shim up there, shoot it, so it kind of holds that up. And then I'll putty these few holes and we'll on to the next one. That's pretty sturdy. That casing will go on there, it'll be pretty good. All right, guys, that's gonna be a wrap on the doors. Hopefully you found this video useful and you can take something away from it. I showed you a few different ways to install doors. The reality of it is if it's on an old house, it's probably not gonna be easy. And at the end of the day, if something is easy, it's probably not worth doing. But as always, we appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share us with your friends, and don't stop dreaming.